Hey guys, welcome to another episode of Easterling Customs. This is not the gaming PC build. I know I was trying to get it out before Christmas because a lot of people are wanting to get into the gaming scene, especially on PCs, and I mean it would be very well known to be able to build a custom PC and be able to play games for under $200, but I'm still waiting on shipping. We've got a couple products in the mail and we haven't received them yet. I apologize for that. They will be coming soon. I will keep you updated. But I've got a couple emails asking what special hardware we use to produce videos, to do our video editing, and what software we use. And well, we do use Adobe Premiere, which is a paid subscription, but we don't use no special hardware. What I am using to do any editing or any uploading of our videos is right here. I've already took the side panel off. I want to show you a little bit on the inside of it, but it's just an Omen 880. It's got a Ryzen 5 1400, that's a first gen Ryzen. It's a 4-core, 8-thread processor. Comes at a base clock at 3.2 gigahertz. I've got it overclocked to 3.8. It is air cooled, not water cooled. I am running a GTX 1060 graphics card in it, and I recently updated from a 1TB hard drive that came stock in it. I put a boot drive in it, which is an M.2 NVMe 250 gig hard drive there. So my boot times are a lot faster, and it helps on encoding and some file transfers, but really big data transfers is where NVMe comes in. The only time you're really going to see the benefits of an NVMe drive is during boot. And this computer, literally during boot, takes 2 to 3 minutes to be able to boot up to the login screen, log in, allow your applications to load, and say you're going to launch Chrome. To be able to launch Chrome, you're looking at 3.5 to 4 minutes to fully load everything and get into Chrome. But I want to show you with this NVMe drive, I can literally get up, logged in, and booted into Chrome in 38 seconds, I believe. But let's take a closer look at the hardware. First off, I'm using a Unitech SATA IDE adapter for my hard drives. So any files stored on an external storage drive or an SSD would go directly into this device here, and I would transfer that onto my hard disk here, which is a 1TB HD here, and I've got a 3TB Seagate here. This is Toshiba, this is a Seagate. They're both 7200 RPM drives. From there, we have the GTX 1060 graphics card. Okay, I hope that's a little better. I'm running the original 8 gig RAM. Okay, a single channel. I haven't upgraded the RAM yet, but I'm getting to it. Here's the Kingston A2000 NVMe drive that I just recently installed. I'm going to be shutting this computer down and applying a heatsink to this. It didn't come with a heatsink, but I'm going to make one because they are good about running hot. The flash likes to be hot, and it operates better at a higher temperature. But the controller itself, that's when you will start getting hurt, is when it starts getting hot. And the controller part is right here at the bottom. That will get warm. The flash will get warm too, but it's fine. You want to focus your heatsink right here on the controller itself. So that's basically the hardware that I'm running, guys. A GTX 1060, the NVMe drive, 2 HDDs, Toshiba, and a Seagate. I believe that's a Barracuda if I'm not mistaken. I've got a Firecuda in my server. But that's it. The Ryzen 5, 8 gigs of RAM, GTX 1060, and a total storage of about 5 terabytes. But let's get this thing shut down and get a heatsink on that, which I will show you how I custom build it. I wasn't going to pay $10 for a heatsink when I could literally make one myself for, let's see here, free. If you've got an old motherboard laying around, I literally took the chipset heatsink here. I took that, I took a reciprocating saw, and I cut it in half. Now, it's an NVMe heatsink. Now I'm going to apply a thermal pad, put this heatsink on top, which, I mean, yes, I just told you you need to focus your heatsink on the controller, not on the flash memory itself, but I'm putting the heatsink over the entire drive. To keep that lodged in place, I'm just using some basic black rubber bands. When you get on eBay or Amazon and you start looking at NVMe heatsinks, you will notice that they literally come with a rubber band to attach them. So let's get this PC shut down, get this heatsink on the drive, and get this thing booted back up so you can see the speed benefits. Shall we? So here we are. We're on our desktop. I'm going to go ahead and shut down. If you've got an older computer and it's feeling sluggish and you're running a standard hard drive, you can get a major benefit by just throwing in an SSD boot drive. That'll drop your boot times considerably. Or if your motherboard is compatible with an M.2 drive, you can go with a SATA interface one. Make sure you check the specifications of your board. A SATA SSD M.2 is not compatible with an NVMe port, and an NVMe port is not compatible with a SATA M.2 port. So I ran into that issue because HP has horrible coverage on their product base, and they had no information available at all about their onboard M.2, whether it was SATA or NVMe compatible. So I ended up ordering a regular SATA drive from Kingston, and no luck. So I had to reorder an NVMe, which was no big deal. It just took me a little longer, but it did come in, and I've had it installed for about 3 days now. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to get my toolkit out here. If I'm not mistaken, that is a Phillips screw holding the NVMe drive in place. Before you do anything on the inside of your computer, disconnect all power. And that's going to be our first step. I'm going to remove the GTX 1060 that EVGA sent me. There's a review on that coming up. It is completed. It's not public yet, but it will be public soon as we are finished editing it. We want to make sure everything goes over well when dealing with a new corporation such as EVGA. We want to make sure we uphold the highest, most quality for them. They were nice enough to help us out with the product. We want to be nice enough to give them full coverage. So, slide your PC out. Disconnect your power. Now, you will notice that my red RGB on the bottom did not shut off, and that's because it's from a separate power source. It's not running off the power supply in the computer. So don't worry about that. And I don't have any RGB inside the computer because it would be completely pointless, considering this is the side panel. Now I thought about cutting all this out and adding a piece of plexiglass in behind it, but I'm not wanting to damage this case. I will upgrade the case in a couple months. We actually have a new partner in line that's supposed to be supplying us with a couple different cases, and I will review them and pick the best one with the most airspace, the best layout, a tempered glass side panel, and the best cooling that I could cram into it, and I'll end up using that case. But let's get to this drive for now. All I'm doing is removing the Phillips head retaining screw at the top of the NVMe drive. Okay, the screw is out. I'm not wearing a static discharge bracelet or ankle bracelet, so what you want to do if you're doing this is to try to stay away from carpet or anything that can help you build up static, because static discharge will fry a chip. I've been doing this for 20 years. I have not destroyed a component with static discharge in my entire career of this, but I'm not telling you that you won't have that issue, because it is an issue. It has been stated multiple times across the internet. I have not experienced this, but I'm also always grounding myself to the chassis before I touch internal components. Make sure you are at least touching the power supply. If the power supply is plugged in, then it has a direct ground and all static will be removed. Anyway, we remove the drive. Now, don't peel the label off, okay? And you would get best cooling by removing this if you are adding a heatsink, but if you are not using a heatsink, do not remove that tag. It will void your warranty, first off. Second off, a lot of these labels are aluminum based and they act as a heatsink themselves, so don't remove the label. I'm not removing the label only because of warranty purposes. This was not a device that was supplied to me for free. I had to pay for this. I'm not looking to damage it at all. We're going to start with our thermal pad. About dropped it. Don't drop it. You don't want to get no dust or hair into it. You don't want air getting in between it either. You don't want to affect the cooling properties. Now we're going to center this above all components. That wasn't too centered. Try not to peel and repeel. Roll across the thermal pad, making sure that you apply even contact to make sure there's no air bubbles underneath it, because that will affect your cooling. Get it as smooth as possible, covering all chips, so even coverage, and then we will peel the back plane off. Once that is removed, you will take your heatsink, line it up properly, and place them over the chips. Now, if you did what I did and cut a heatsink in half to create this, make sure this channel, because it is offset, is lined up so it does not restrict any airflow over the drive. As you see here, we have the heatsink all the way across. The pad will apply some pressure to it so it doesn't fall directly off, but you want to retain that. So what I'm going to do to make sure that doesn't come loose is use some standard hair ties. They're just the miniature rubber bands that you would normally use in your kids' French braid or whatever. You want to find the smallest ones, and I'm going to use 4 of them. You don't want to double these up. You don't want to have to wrap it, twist it, and then wrap it back over. It's not going to look pretty. You just want the smallest ones possible to wrap around and be done. I said I was going to use 4, but I think I'm going to use 6 because it is a 2-piece heatsink. And I just want to make sure that it is perfectly secure. We don't need no metal falling off while the computer is running and shorting something out. So I'm going to start from the bottom, stretch the band over the heatsink, and allow it to go down over the drive. Now I'll move on to my next one. Same thing, just a little further up, about halfway, and release. You know what? I am going to twist and double it. That's not as tight as I was really hoping for it to be. So I am doubling it up. You can't even tell. And I broke one. That's great. Sharp edges of metal. I decided that I'm going to double up the end ones and the middle ones on each side, but just use a single wrap for the actual end. Every time I've went to, these are a little more fragile than I expected them to be, and I've already broke 3. Good thing I got plenty. Now you got to check on your motherboard and make sure that you're not adding any restriction, making the drive stick up off of the motherboard, because if you do, then you won't be making contact. But as long as everything makes contact, then you will be fine. Shoot. I think I'm getting pretty good at breaking them. I'm going to grab the next size up to help me with making these larger. Double them up. That worked out pretty well. Now let's just get this last one on. This is the top where the retainer screw goes in place. And there we have it. Band, 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 band. So the drive's not coming off. Heatsink is perfectly clean. And we're going to just slide this back in place. There we are, guys. Now you see the M.2 is back in place with the heatsink. Everything's making a full connection. Let's see this baby boot. Oh, gotta put power back to it. If you have any questions on how to create a heatsink, let me know, email me, and I'll contact you back with a couple diagrams on what you can do. Do you see that? Already in Windows. Logged in. And there's Chrome. Less than 30 seconds. That is what NVMe can do for you. So, well, that's our hardware, guys. This 3.8 gigahertz Ryzen 5 1400 processor, the GTX 1060, great graphics card, 2 hard drives, Toshiba and Seagate. Now that I'm thinking about it, I think the Barracuda is in my server with the Firecuda. I'm pretty sure that's a Constellation drive, which is a 7200 RPM. And the Kingston 250 boot drive, NVMe. No special hardware, guys. You can do this yourself. I just wanted to educate anybody out there who's wanting to get into YouTube creation or video creation or media applications, whatever it may be, on you don't need to go out and invest 25, 26, 36. You don't need to invest $2,500 into a PC to be able to make media. You can do it from anything. It might be a poor time on low-end hardware. It might take a while, but you can do it. Mid-grade hardware is just as compatible. Just upgrade what you have, guys. You don't have to run out and buy these new machines. It's just as easy to get a hold of these manufacturers like Kingston and EVGA, NVIDIA, AMD, Intel, and buy the component you need. Check the specifications of your motherboard and your PC. See what you can upgrade to. Check into the specifications of the new hardware you're looking at, and make sure it's compatible. As long as you're not getting a GPU bottleneck or a CPU bottleneck or a RAM bottleneck, you'll be okay. Your computer does not have to be end of life because it's 5 years old and doesn't have the newest graphics card in it and the highest end processor. You can still upgrade that machine to make it relevant today. Guys, get out there. Do your hobbies. Do what you're passionate about. Create what you want to create. We are only here to get more people into building PCs, explaining what these components do. We are not the best professionals in the world. We are not the smartest people in the world. All I am saying is you, as an individual, can do what we did. You can do whatever you dream of doing. Do what you're passionate about. Get out there and create. The gaming PC is upcoming. Stay tuned for that. Our EVGA graphics card's coming up. Stay tuned for that. Get subscribed. Like this video if you liked it. Comment below if you have any ideas or any questions. Maybe your ideas might be our next video, like this one just did. People was asking how we create media, what our special hardware is, and really we're using what you have. We got a Unitech adapter to plug in our external hard drives, and we transfer our media back to our PCs, and we use this is what I use. Adobe Premiere. That's all there is to it, guys. You can do this yourself. You don't know exactly how to do it? Research a little bit. You can contact me. I'll try to walk you through step by step the best I can. But you can do whatever you want to do. Don't let a budget hold you back. Guys, I'll see you next time. I hope you enjoyed the video. Like I said, like if you like it, dislike if you don't like it. Leave a comment if you've got questions or an idea for another video. And get subscribed for all of our upcoming content. We've got a few manufacturers in line who are wanting us to review their products, and I'm only going to review products that I feel you could benefit from. If it's the same stuff that everybody else has got and there's no special features or any point in going and paying $200-300 for an adapter or whatever, I'm not going to recommend it. Unless the people on a budget can use it and benefit from it, I'm not going to review it. But we do have some product lines coming up that I am reviewing, and I hope that I hope you stay tuned and catch this content. See you later.